Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Remembrance Day ceremony. I'm Mr. Barry, and I'm principal here at Holy Heart. I want to highlight some things today in relation to Newfoundland and its connection to Remembrance Day and its significance and its contribution to the First World War. So, what you probably can surmise is that in 1914, Newfoundland had yet to join Confederation, so therefore it was part of the British Empire. So, when the British Empire declared war on Germany, by association, Newfoundland became part of that war in Europe. Of the 240,000 individuals living in Newfoundland at the time, 12,000 of those had been sent to Europe to fight as part of the Newfoundland Regiment. So after a 6-month battle for the Newfoundland Regiment in Turkey, they were moved to the Western Front in France on what we now know as Beaumont Hamel. As we progress through, we'll see a number of significant pieces that tie our history directly to some things that are actually in Newfoundland currently. So here is a picture of some of the Newfoundland Regiment during the war. And as you can see, it went very much into trenches and open fields of battle with different countries. And of course, the Western France and British Empire were facing Germany. And one of the things that we know now, if you live in the east end of St. John's, there's a street up there called Blue Petit. And if you had never wondered why that was the name of a street, now you know that it's very significant because the Newfoundland Regiment were called the Blue Petits. And they were called that because of a piece of their clothing and their uniform that they wore had a significant color of blue, and they nicknamed them the Blue Petits. So you can see in their emblem here that the blue is very prominent, and hence the word Blue Petit. So some of you, I'm sure, listening here today live on that street. So I'm hoping now that you have some significance and tied to some history as to why that street has the name it's been given. One of the things when the Newfoundland Regiment went to battle on the Western Front in France is they were all stationed towards the front, which means they were the first soldiers to come up out of the trenches to cross a 500-meter open field that was where Germany were waiting on the other side. So you can see they're all in the trenches here, and they nicknamed this trench the St. John's Road, and this has become a part of the tour for people who go to Beaumont Hamel, and very significant for people that may have had relatives that were in the battle in Western France at the time. Here is an aerial shot of that field that was used, so you can still see the trenches that were in place, and you can see the openness and barrenness. So it's green now, and it looks very fresh, but you could see previous pictures that it was very much a battleground. So all of these soldiers from Newfoundland were sitting in those trenches, and when ordered, started to cross a 500-meter field that was completely open. And unfortunately, that proved to be very, very uh, high in casualties for the Newfoundland Regiment. If you are in Bowring Park someday and you see this statue of the caribou, the emblem, as I showed you earlier in the slideshow, is the emblem of the Newfoundland Regiment that had the color blue, and it also had the caribou. So the caribou is also very well connected to Newfoundland culture, and it's also part of the regiment's emblem. So that's why in Bowring Park, if you're ever in there, you might want to take note of the caribou and the signage that was dedicated to this particular statue. After the 700 plus soldiers died in the battle in Beaumont Hamel, there was a monument erected over there because a lot of them were never brought back for proper burial. So they erected a statue in Beaumont Hamel that was dedicated to the Newfoundland Regiment. And this is a picture of that monument in Beaumont Hamel. And if you look towards the bottom, we'll see um, three copper signs, and each one of the names of the individuals that died in that battle had their name engraved on those placards towards the bottom of the Beaumont Hamel um, memorial. To the student body of Holy Heart, as we assemble here in peace and safety, We pay our respects to all of the fallen, all of the wounded, and all who have served in conflicts over the last 100 years. Today, as we should every day, we remember those who have volunteered, sacrificed, served, fought, and died for our freedom. We thank you and we salute you as we salute those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. We will never forget. We will remember you.
Too soon to leave this earth. How could all your work be done? Ash to ash and dust to dust. Seems to me you've just begun. When
"Please wear a poppy," the lady said, and held one forth, but I shook my head. Then I stopped and watched as she offered them there, and her face was old and lined with care. But beneath the scars the years had made, there remained a smile that refused to fade. A boy came whistling down the street, bouncing along on carefree feet. His smile was full of joy and fun. "Lady," he said, "may I have one?" When she'd pinned it on, he turned to say, "Why do we wear a poppy today?" The lady smiled in her wistful way and answered, "This is Remembrance Day. And that poppy there is a symbol for the gallant men who died in war. And because they did, you and I are free. And that's why we wear a poppy, you see." I had a boy about your size with golden hair and big blue eyes. He loved to play and jump and shout. Free as a bird, he would race about. As the years went by, he learned and grew and became a man, as you will too. He was fine and strong with a boyish smile, but he seemed with us such a little while. When the war broke out and he went away, I still remember his face that day. And he smiled at me and said, "Goodbye, I'll be back soon, Mom. Please don't cry." But the war went on, and he had to stay, and all I could do was wait and pray. His letters told of the awful fight. I can still see it in my dreams at night, with the tanks and guns and cruel barbed wire, with the mines and bullets, the bombs and fire. Till at last, the war was won. And that's why we wear poppy, son. The small boy turned as if to go, then said, "Thanks, lady, I'm glad to know. That sure did sound like an awful fight, but your son, did he come back all right?" A tear rolled down each faded cheek. She shook her head, but didn't speak. I slunk away in a sort of shame, and if you were me, you'd have done the same. For our thanks in giving, if oft delayed, though our freedom was bought and thousands paid. And so when we see a poppy worn, let us reflect on the burden borne by those who gave their very all when asked to answer their country's call, that we at home in peace might live. Then wear a poppy, remember, and give.
Here to serve their country. From farms, small towns, and large cities across the country, men and women have signed up, motivated by reasons like patriotism, family tradition, the seeking of adventure, or just to escape unemployment. They join Canada's war effort, prepared to defend, to care for the wounded, to prepare materials for war, and to provide economic and moral support. This year, from November 5th to the 11th, is Veterans Week, and it is time we honor those who have served Canada, past and present, in times of war, military conflict, and peace. This year also marks the 75th anniversary of the end of the Second World War.
Du 5 à 11e novembre, la semaine des vétérans, nous rendons hommage à ceux qui ont servi le Canada, hier et aujourd'hui, en temps de guerre, de conflit militaire ou de paix. Le thème de cette année est le 75e anniversaire de la fin de la Seconde Guerre mondiale. Prenez du temps pour lire au sujet des principaux jalons et batailles qui ont mené à la conclusion de ce conflit majeur, une partie importante de la riche histoire militaire du Canada.
War has always meant death, destruction, and absence from loved ones. For the men and women who rallied to support their nation's cause, the threats of war seem far away and unreal. For all these conflicts fought in far-off lands, there is so much to remember. Foremost are the people, the men and women, who served wherever they were needed. They bravely faced difficult situations and brought honor to themselves, to their loved ones, and to their country. They were ordinary Canadians who made extraordinary sacrifices.
Les vétérans souhaitent que les Canadiens comprennent le prix de la liberté. Ils passent le flambeau à la population du Canada, afin que les souvenirs de leurs sacrifices se perpétuent et que les valeurs pour lesquelles ils se sont battus vivent en chacun de nous.
Holding ceremonies and passing on the traditions of remembrance are very important ways Canadians show our appreciation to Canadian veterans and their families, for the losses and sacrifices they have endured. Since 1919, Canadian military personnel have fought in many conflicts like World War II, the Korean War, the Gulf War, the war in Afghanistan, and many other humanitarian and nation-building initiatives.
Thanks to the millions of Canadians who wear the nation's lapel poppy each November, the little red flower has never died, and the memories of those who fell in battle remain strong. The Poppy campaign begins on the last Friday of October and continues through November 11th, and the Royal Canadian Legion suggests that the poppy will be worn on the left lapel of a garment as close to the heart as possible.
Aujourd'hui, la campagne du coquelicot figure parmi les principaux programmes de la Légion royale canadienne. Les fonds recueillis viennent en aide directement aux vétérans en difficulté financière et servent aussi à financer l'achat d'appareils médicaux, la recherche médicale, la prestation de services à domicile, le maintien d'établissements de soins de longue durée et divers autres projets. These soldiers have dedicated their lives so that we might enjoy freedom today. All of our veterans and military personnel should be remembered.
We will remember them.
When the sun rays round our blind gladness, and summer's winter end, when the silver voices tune our ears, we love His guiding hand. We love Thee, we love Thee, we love Thee, smiling land. As loved our Father, so we love, where once Thee stood, we stand. And prayers we raise to heaven above, God guard Thee, Newfoundland. God guard Thee, God guard Thee, God guard Thee, Newfoundland.
Hello, everyone. It's Mr. Brake here. Now that we've concluded our assembly, I just want to take some time to thank everyone that participated. I know a lot of time and effort goes into these performances and preparing, and it's greatly appreciated. It's a little bit of a different year this year. We cannot, meet together and witness a lot of these performances live in the theater. But it's great that we're still able to come together as a school and to reflect and honor those that have fallen. So tomorrow, November 11th, just make sure, although you have the day off, take some time to, again, remember and reflect. And at 11 a.m., please take some time to have a moment of silence, a minute of silence, to honor those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. So thank you. Have a great day.